dear Lord, you are mine. Only you are my mother and father. Only you are my kin and companion. Only you are my knowledge and riches, O dear Lord. It is you all in all. O dear Lord, you are mine. There are innumerable ways to attain God realization. Amongst all those paths, I have found a unique path which is uncommon. It is I belong to God. You may perceive this as ordinary, but in my opinion, it is extremely unique. Each one of us is God's child. It is not a usual fact. This renders God realization exceedingly easy. Swamiji said earlier you instructed one disciple put a question in front of Swamiji. Swamiji, earlier you instructed us regarding seeking refuge in God and chanting His name. Then you asked us to regularly repeat, "Oh, my dear Lord, I must never forget you." And now you are telling us to accept our belongingness to God. Which of these sadhanas should we follow? Swamiji says, follow which I am instructing you now. All sadhanas are excellent, but accepting that God is mine, this makes us close to God. The closer we are to God, the better the worship becomes. One more question was put by a disciple from a disciple to Swamiji. Carrying out all deeds diligently or disregarding our belongingness with the material world or accepting our belongingness to God, which among us the three sadhanas is most appropriate to break away from our attachment and aversion and attain liberation. Swamiji says accepting our belongingness to God is the foremost sadhana because of our acceptance of the belongingness to God by the virtue of God's grace. Attachment and aversion are also resolved, equivalency also comes, serenity is also attained, and liberation is also fulfilled because in our essence we are fragments of God. Mame Vansho Jeev Loke. By correcting this essence, everything else gets corrected. If you wish to effortlessly experience God, it is my request that you must accept I belong to God. This practice is much more powerful than true sadhana. For instance, a daughter in your family once married accepts that I belong to my husband's place. Similarly, you must accept that I belong to God. This is an extremely effortless and preeminent sadhana. God has Himself specified this as the ultimate untold secret Sarvabhumatma. In the entire instruction of the Gita, the term Sarvabhumatma has been used only once. I am really stating this with folded hands that in my opinion, this is the foremost sadhana. I feel so in my heart that if we accept that, God belongs to us, then our task will be quickly done. God is mine, this is accepted, then the whole lot of our work is done. We have already come quite close to God. All that you wish to depart from would be achieved by God's grace, God's strength only. In Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga, both sadhana as well as the sadhya. That's why the path of Bhakti Yoga is comparatively brisker to treat. Everybody is not aware of this fact. That's why I keep on emphasizing that you must accept your belongingness to God. God is our Father. Each one of us is His beloved son and daughter. Accept this and consider most of your work completed. It is better than God's continual remembrance to accept our relationship with God, that I belong to God. A relationship is everlasting, existing. A relationship is ever existing. Once the relation is embraced, then God's remembrance occurs inherently and doesn't have to be practiced. It happens without any effort. I have a mother. In this manner, we have accepted our mother. So now we are not required to remember this. Like a rich man is always proud from within that I have so much money. Similarly, you should also at all times feel proud from within that I belong to God. Asya bhimana jai jan hore मैं सेवक रघुपति पति मोरे. However you are, you must never disregard the fact that I belong to my Lord. Be it happiness or sorrow, health or sickness, profit or loss, but I belong to God. God belongs to me. Your mind must never dwindle from this principle. There is no equivalent path, no ability, no strength, no privilege than acceptance of our belongingness to God. In the acceptance of God's belongingness, the mind, the intellect, etc. are not required. Whereas in other sadhanas, the assistance of the mind, the intellect, etc. are required. Even with the persisting absence of certain traits in a seeker, God chooses to concentrate only on the belongingness and not the absent traits, because our belongingness to God is absolute. He who accepts his relation with God rises above the ordinary. He becomes a Sant Mahatma. He attains serenity and eternal joy. He becomes carefree of everything else. So accept that God belongs to you and relax. I belong to God. never forget this, and you will certainly experience God. You will be naturally introduced to satsang and Sant Mahatmas. The most exceptional thing is an eternal relationship with God by the virtue of the acceptance of the relationship. There is rapid augmentation, chanting of God's name, meditation, kirtan, etc. are not perpetual, and there is always some interference, whereas there is no interference in the relationship with God. For example, by sleeping, the marital relationship doesn't vanish. Similarly, in forgetfulness or sleep, our relationship with God doesn't vanish. It is perpetual and ever existing. There is exertion in performing, chanting, etc. But our relationship is never tiring. This relationship is immediate and eternal. Like marriage breaks only if you break it. If you accept that God belongs to me, then not even God can break this. The jiva or the embodied soul is a fragment of God. Therefore, if he connects with God by any means, it certainly liberated. A relationship with God invariably leads to supreme welfare. Those who took God by enmity like Vansha, Shishupal, etc. were liberated, and those who loved God utterly were also liberated. But those who failed to establish any relation were not liberated. If someone expresses that God is mine, it extremely pleases the Lord. In reality, except for God, there is no one whom we can call us. Due to your materialistic tendencies, you might become ignorant of God. But God never forgets you. Ultimately, one more question a disciple put in front of Swamiji. After acceptance of God's relation, can God be realized even on persistence of worldly desires? Swamiji says, yes, God can be realized even on persistence of worldly desires, and the desires should not persist once God is realized. The principal mistake has been the erroneous embarrassing of what is not ours, like body, senses, mind, intellect, and who belong to us. We did not embrace that God. This single blunder encompasses every other mistake in mathematics on omission of even a single step or a digit. Everything becomes incorrect and no mark is awarded. That's why you must at least accept I belong to God and God is mine. To eternally reveal the Lord and to acquire His perpetual love, it is a must to embrace the fact that God is mine. Like a child declares that the mother is mine, similarly God is mine, a sentiment of Belongingness towards God is the mantra for eternal love. It reveals the presence of God. You must invoke this feeling from within that why is my mother not taking me in her lap? You must firmly believe God belongs to you. This will have an immense outcome and your existence will prove victorious. My heart will be extremely delighted if you do so, and you will also be happy. You will be blissful. This acceptance is pure profit with no loss of any kind. This wisdom is not ordinary. It is the conclusive essence of the Vedas, Gita and Ramayana. Even if you do not believe that truth will remain absolute, it can never be a lie. You just have to embrace it from your end. Then, even if a void persists, it will be up to God to seal it, but you must never disregard this. Once accepted, keep on repeating, I belong to God. This will naturally make you pristine and pure. Is God feebler than philosopher's stone, which transforms metal into pure gold? The purity which is attained by acknowledging the relationship with God can never be attained by our endeavors. The benefit which is not obtained even after years and years of satsang will be achieved in a single day by accepting our belongingness to God. The stronger one associates with people and material objects. The lesser one feels about his belongingness towards God. When it is properly understood and acknowledged that in the entirety of the limitless cosmos, there isn't even a speck of an object which belongs to us, even the body, senses, mind, intellect, ego, doesn't belong to us or nor exist for us, then only can be the actual quintessence of tattva experienced and understood. Actioned by any of the three bodies, introspection and trance samadhi, even they are ours, not of any use to us. Only after the departure from our assumed relation with actions, introspection and trance, what is achieved that quintessence of tattva only is ours and for us. We are fragments of God only. Till the time a human being has assumed that the body and the world are his and exist for him, till then he will listen, learn, orate and lecture, but will not adequately understand the quintessence of the tattva. The advancement of a seeker will not be substantial until the relationship with God is acknowledged. Whereas the progress would be effortlessly humongous if it is acknowledged, I belong to God. Accept this from within, and your spiritual standing will transform. Furthermore, there will be a comprehensive change in you. You will attain peace, doubts will be cleared, and confusions will resolve. O dear Lord, I belong to you, accept this much from within, and all your worldly affinities will loosen by themselves. We will not have to struggle to loosen those earthly ties. Recently, this thought has been ruminating with me a lot. To embrace our eternal relationship with God, it has been particularly coming to my mind that you must anyhow accept your relationship with God. You may accept God by your son, your father, your mother, your brother, your friend, your guru or your teacher, your disciple, your master, your servant, or whoever you expect him to be. Just accept this much and it will be tremendously beneficial. You may or may not accept, that is your wish, but I will keep on repeating that. That is my duty and I will adhere to it. Even if you wish not to accept this, I will not be upset with you, but certainly my heart will not be content. Any sadhana or spiritual practice can never be continuous, but a relation is ever existing. A seeker can pursue any form of sadhana, but must agree on his exclusive relationship with God. Until the time relation with another exists, till then the sadhana is not absolute. What you believe to be the path towards God realization is not the actual path towards God realization. True sadhana happens only when you accept your relationship with God. For instance, when a married woman visits her mother's place, even while performing all obligations, she never disregards the fact that she is married. Similarly, if you wish to attain God realization, then even while residing in this material world, you must agree from within on your relationship with God. Do not agree to associate even with a sant or a guru, but do respect their teachings. Only you accept that you belong to God. Then all your actions will be sadhana for God realization only. I belong to God, God belongs to me. This is a true sadhana. God belongs to us, we belong to God. If the Lord relation is embraced in this way, then you will not have to purposely try and remember God, but instead you will innately remember Him. In our worldly routine, we have observed that a person is respected based on their material wealth, but in God's routine, one is respected if they are related to God. Just by accepting your relationship with God, all your losses, all worries, all griefs, and all clutter will dissolve, will become absolute. It is said that the realization of God is extremely effortless, And it is also told that the realization of God is extremely difficult. If one goes by set norms and regulations, then the realization of God is extremely difficult. But if the heart has a genuine passion for God, then it becomes extremely effortless. Like a child asserts that the mother is mine. Similarly, God is ours. The heart should have such simple passion. It is exceptionally difficult to attain God realization. If the heart lacks passion, God receives passion. If a child asserts that the mother is mine, what regulation will be applied in this? The child never deems if he is qualified or suitable. By the virtue of his affection, he fondly and completely dominates his mother. Similarly, God is mine, simply accept this. If the child cries, the mother has to attend her child irrespective of what she was doing. Therefore, simply and honestly hail, O Lord, O my dear Lord, God is mine. This one truth surpasses everything. Without asserting any rules and regulations, one should particularly develop this single thread. God is mine. The passion for belongingness should be exceptional and foremost. Disregard every other fact. Don't focus even on your shortcomings. Rather gaze only towards the Lord's gracious personality. There can't be anyone except God who can be ours, nor can ever stay with us. For instance, when a mother watches her child play, her heart becomes full of love. Similarly, God's heart is full of love for each one of the souls. He wants to accept them, meet them, and converse with them. But this soul doesn't even glance at God. So it is my request to all of you that however you are, at least, remember this thought that God is mine. मेरे तो गिरधर गोपाल दूसरों न कोई. मेरे तो गिरधर गोपाल दूसरों नाम पूरे. If you accept this, you will never be unhappy again. There is no particular loss in accepting this, but pure and pure profit, body, senses, soul, mind, intellect, etc. Nothing belongs to me. Only God is mine. If you accept this, you will be greatly benefited, greatly benefited, greatly benefited. Nothing else will bind you. Even in times of sickness, you will not be distressed, but would experience eternal joy. The body might feel lethargic, but there will be eternal bliss within, even if you dwell 4 to 5 degrees of fever. You stop talking or you collapse, even then there will be no difference in the eternal joy within. This is an absolute truth. Since all of you have come for satsang, just accept that regardless of however we are, we belong to God. Simply because of not accepting our belongingness to God, we will have to suffer. There is no doubt about this. At each and every place, you will take birth, die, and suffer. Once the relationship with God is accepted, then be joyful. There is no need to do anything else. If you embrace God, then God is happy and sons are also happy. Everyone content, no one can be upset. Because we are not grabbing somebody else's part, but taking what is rightfully ours. There is no sweat in accepting God. No fee, no learning, no reading, no memorization and no qualification. There is nothing in this material world that belongs to us. Understand this and God belongs to us, accept this. Nothing belongs to us in this material world. You can doubt this plenty. Everything will be accepted, but God belongs to us. No doubts in this will be accepted. This has to be embraced. Initially, the material world is comprehended and God is accepted. Afterwards, God doesn't remain merely accepted, but becomes tangible. God constantly gazes at you like a mother gets delighted when her child calls Ma, Ma. Similarly, when you call out that God belongs to you and God gets utterly delighted, you are a fragment of the Lord. You must remember this at all times. I keep on repeating this because I have developed a particular regard for you. Only in recent years, I was not aware of its importance initially. For example, a daughter of your house after marriage belongs to the house where she got married. Similarly, you must also embrace your belonging to God's house. Accept that you are not a bachelor anymore. We are not without a master, unlike wild beasts. We belong to God. Indeed, you all belong to God forever. You may or may not know. You may or may not accept, simply transform your sentiment. If you wish to experience God, then you must not regard yourself as a woman or a man. Affirm your relationship with God that I belong to God. If you embrace your belongingness to God, then it is a tremendous achievement. If you affirm yourself as a woman or a man, then how will you achieve God realization? If you affirm yourself as a woman, then you will only achieve a man, but not God. Affirmation of one womanhood or a manhood is also a hindrance in God realization. The distinction between a woman and a man is necessary for worldly customs and behavior. If you have embraced yourself as a physical body, then how will you experience God? Your inner sentiment only must transform that I belong to God. God's relation is such, it slashes all other phony relationships. You may be a sinner, but even then you are with God. Goodness and wrongdoings don't even touch you. You belong to God, and God belongs to you. If you forget this, even then this truth is as it is. Forgetting and not forgetting is in the mind only. You have held the inner body material world, so it attracts you towards itself. If you disregard its relationship, then it will not attract. If you accept your relationship with God, then sin of eternal life will depart. I belong to God. This is not a fact to ponder upon, but rather should be acknowledged. 2 plus 2 is for only what is in it pondered. What is in it to ponder? If the mind is free of desires, attachment, aversion, but without any sentiment of belongingness towards God, then liberation will be attained, but God will not be experienced. Whereas there is desire, attachment, aversion in the mind, but the feeling of belongingness towards God is present, then God will be experienced. It means that impeccability is related to liberation, but belongingness is related to God. Griya was desirous, but he accepted that God belongs to him. God belonged to him. The sentiment of belongingness is the most beloved to God. Ram hi prem pyara. The relationship of belongingness with God is an essential cause in awakening eternal love. God is neither a man, nor a woman, nor a neutral, but still He is everything. That's why you can accept Him as a father or a mother. Whatever relationship you want to embrace with God, God is ready to accept it. By accepting the relationship, the sentiment of belongingness develops. The sooner God is attained by belongingness cannot be attained through exercise. The close relationship that your son has with you is similar relationship a servant doesn't have. A servant is related due to work and profession, but a son is not related by work and profession. When the servant works well, you get satisfied. But even if the son is illiterate or inept, even then he has full right over his father's property. If you perform activities, then you become a servant. But if you establish belongingness with God, then you become a son. You must try and remember that we are the fragment of God, whom no one can be equivalent to. Then how can anyone be greater than Him? So you must not get afraid of material illusions. We belong to God. By remembering this, you will inherently acquire strength. We are not an orphan, we have a Lord. Remember this, just because of not remembering God, you got disappointed and disheartened. Will the Lord employ His strength for Himself? Like a mother's milk is for her child and not for the mother herself. Similarly, God's strength is for us. Being a fragment of God, we are not feeble. However we are, we belong to God. Is a useless son not a son? We belong to God. Then why should we worry? He who does not belong to God should worry. Nothing except God is mine. Accept this and you will be greatly benefited. There is nothing more joyous and blissful than this. There is the essence of all Shastra and teachings of all Sant Mahatmas. Chanting the Lord's name, bhajan, kirtan, etc. are not required. You may or may not have control over the mind, but at least accept this much, that there is nothing else except God which belongs to us. How is the Lord? Why are not interested in that? We are not interested in that. However He is ours, the protector of countless universes. That Paramatma is our Father. Then for what should we worry? If you accept that God is mine, I belong to God, then there will be a tremendous transformation in you. You will become carefree and fearless. Accept that God belongs to you and all your work is done. Not even a fraction of a task will be left for you to do. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Meditating Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, etc. Nothing will be left. The striver or sadhaka will become complete with all objectives achieved, all knowledge earned, and all desires fulfilled. He who is the guardian of all countless cosmos, that God is mine. If this is accepted, then what else is left and how is left? The essence of love is belongingness. For those who are dear to us, we are naturally tend to remember them. We remember your, we remember our wife, son, and daughter because we love them. We have accepted our belongingness to them. If you want to love God, accept that He belongs to you. Then you will naturally remember Him without any effort. Whatever you start liking, the mind automatically goes towards it. God is mine. The power that lies within this is not there in renunciation and austerity. Each and every soul is a child of God. 8.4 million forms of bodies and other bodily forms such as deities, fiends, devils, ghosts and ghouls, etc. are also God's children. If you just accept that we are God's child, then what stops you? Once you accept it, then most of your work is done. The state that is not achieved even after years of sadhana will be attained just by accepting this. We belong to God. We have been blessed with this incredible truth. Now, what else do we require? If we just don't forget our belongingness to God, then everything will become alright. We will experience Chetan Amal Sahaj Sukh Rashi. We wouldn't be required to perform sadhana, it will happen naturally. We belong to God. If we remember this truth, then impurities will not come close. They will run away. But if we forget this man, if we forget this, then we will get surrounded by impurities. We belong to God. By accepting this, all of you can become the saint. Wherever you are, no one can interrupt you from this. Now we belong to God, accept so, and immediately become carefree, fearless, calm, and worryless. For instance, a son, naturally without even any education, has complete ownership over his father's property. Similarly, because of your belongingness to God, you will naturally inherit properties of God. When we look at the Mahabharata, we notice that the Lord presented the Pandavas with both favorable and unfavorable conditions in plenty, but it was incredible of the Pandavas that they never disrespected the Lord. Among the Pandavas, Bhimasen had big mouth, but even he never spoke against the Lord. Such should be the Lord admirers, whereas Duryodhana never developed any admiration for the Lord. He considered the Lord a clever and shrewd man. The Pandavas were incredible in the fact that even when conditions moved against their will, they still considered that the Lord belonged to them. Similarly, in situations happening against our will, we should still see that the Lord belongs to us. Numerous things are told concerning God, but those who wish to attain liberation should not dwell on how is God, how not is He. The truth that delivers liberation is there is a God, and however He is ours. The foremost thing is we have a Lord. We are not orphans. This truth should be firmly accepted. The most promising technique to experience God realization is I belong to God. Mind intellect belongs to nature. Therefore, if the mind intellect is unsettled, then that's nature's problem as I belong to God. As God is immortal, so I am also immortal. Since God never dies, then how can I die? That's why the saints have spoken. राम मरे तो मैं मरूं नहीं तो मरे भलाई अविनाशी का मालिक हूँ मरे न मारा जाए I belong to God, God belongs to me. This truth is greater than chanting the Lord's name or God's remembrance. This is true devotion. In reality, only he is a devotee who belongs to God. He who belongs to God is not an ordinary person. A material person is ordinary. Objects and actions are related to this world. We are in no way related to them. While performing any action, remember that I belong to God. Then in what way should I perform this duty? Intuition will naturally amass within your mind. If you will love the Lord with an innocent heart, then in what way you should be devoted? This will naturally occur within your mind. God is mine. This is a genesis for love. Love doesn't arise from denunciation, austerities, etc., but from belongingness towards the Lord. This truth is profound. After many years of delivering discourses, I became aware of this truth. Whatever belongs to us naturally becomes dear to us. We belong to God. God belongs to us. This is no ordinary truth. This devotion is of high status. There is no sadhana equivalent to it. We belong to God. God belongs to us. We have become aware of this. Now, why will we take another birth? Most conclusive and essence of all is the fact that only God is ours except Him. No one else is ours. God is ever present with us except Him. No one else stays with us forever. If you accept this truth, then it is greatly benefiting. What comes and goes never belongs to us, but God is always present with us. He never departs. This is the essence of all the Shastras, Puranas and Vedas. So behave with everyone, serve everyone, respect everyone and honor everyone, but in your heart don't consider anyone yours. Within your heart consider only God as yours. If you acknowledge others as yours, then one day you will have to weep. To serve everyone is ours, but for ourselves, no one is ours. For ourselves, only God is ours. You may consider God as Saguna, Nirguna, Sakar, Nirakar, Shesha, whatever you believe, but He is ours. What I have told you is the essence, which is not heard everywhere. If you say in front of Yamraja, the deity of death, also that I belong to God, then even Yamraja will shiver. If you accept your relationship with God, then purity and piousness will naturally come to you. We belong to God. God belongs to us by merely uttering this. We will become pure naturally. We might be a disobedient child, but even then we belong to God. We just have to eradicate our disobedience. Sadhana that happens by the virtue of the body, that sadhana also is not valuable. From within God is mind, the value that this has is not there in chanting etc. performed by the body. A chaste wife doesn't say her husband's name, but does that diminish her love for her husband? Among hundreds of men, she finds only her husband as hers. नहीं रटे आपको का भया रटे आना चाहिए जैसे नार सुहागनी पति को नाम न ले. Being a fragment of God, you are one with the Lord. The body is one with the material world. If the body doesn't appear as ours, then Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, all these will become effortless. Even after these many years of satsang, if we don't accept that the body belongs to the world and we belong to God, then what have we done? High talks like a Pandit wouldn't suffice. It is a profound truth that till God is not realized, until then, developing a relationship with anyone is dangerous. When you haven't become free from existing relations, then why do you develop new relationships? All relationships have already become tough for you to break. Then what will your condition be if you develop new relationships? You will be an utter disaster. Formulating a relationship with anyone is the cause for downfall. Jad Bharat developed a relationship with a deer, so he had to take a deer form. The word Samandha. Relationship is only means bondage in an excellent manner or in a great way. Formulation of a new relationship is a new danger. A man asked another, if I hold the tail of this mare, then what will you give me? The other replied that the mare herself will give it to you. She will kick you so hard that you will die. It is required of his driver of Satra that he must not develop a relationship with anyone. Whatever relationships exist, they are also not broken, then why formulate new ones? A relationship with the material world is the obstacle. This truth is extremely rare. Keep your relationship only with God, whose fragment you are. You accept this or not, acknowledge this or not, or forget this altogether, even then your relationship with God will never break. If you accept your relationship with God, your sorrows will disappear. Whatever Sharia I have done, the books I have gone through after pondering, I have gone through and after pondering, it is the foremost truth that we belong to God. Accept this fact for eternity that I am not without a Lord, I belong to God. What I find most valuable for all in my view, I speak that. Also what is foremost in the view of the Vedas, Puranas, Shastras and Sant Mahatmas, I speak that. I don't speak against them and others might occur, but don't focus on that. The fact is that it is special for us, friendly for us, individual for us, personal for us, profound for us, respectful for us, and beneficial for us is that our relationship is with the Lord. We belong to God. There is nothing as remarkable as this truth. Even the Lord has stated that every soul is my fragment, only Mamavan Shochi Loki. It is required to everyone that you must accept God as yours. You just accept this truth and your improvement will happen automatically. Whether you understand or not, accept this. Accept that we belong to God. Plenty of other facts are there as well, but I belong to God. This is the essence that is why I repeatedly say this point. You may say that Swamiji keeps on reiterating the same thing that we belong to God. But even after repeated emphasis, if you don't accept, then how will you accept by stating it just once? So don't get fed up. Accept for God. Nothing else is going to stay with you. Reside in this world with immense pleasure, but God is mine. Do not forget this. Everything will then become alright. Renunciation, disinterest, etc. Everything will happen by itself. An easy way to awaken devotion is to consider God as yours. We see in the material world as well that whom a man considers as his own appears dear to him. We belong to God, God belongs to us. This is the essence. Every other point comes under this. Accepting God as ours is a liberating truth. By merely considering the Lord as ours, the Lord gets pleased. Therefore, you just accept God as your mother, father, brother, husband, son, friend, master, disciple, etc. Rama is my mother, Rama is my father, Rama is my Lord, and Rama is my friend. Oh, the compassionate Rama is my all in all. I do not know any other except Him. Indeed, I do not know any other. I belong to God by holding this sentiment. Your ego will become connected to God, then devotion will become easy and supreme. Without altering the ego, devotion doesn't become great. This is a principle. If you become gods, then the realization of God becomes effortless. Otherwise, God realization will be difficult. Amongst all the difficulties faced in God realization, this is the foremost. In this material world, everyone loves just ostentatiously, but not genuinely. God is all in reality. The dearer the Lord is to us, no one is as dear to Him. The body appears good, but even that is not ours. I have studied books, I have also been in the company of saints, and wherever I got to hear good facts, I have been there as well. After visualizing many facts, after reading, after listening, after understanding and after contemplating, I have concluded that no one is equally dear to us as God is. I belong to God. This truth is the essence of all truths. To attain God and His love, belongingness is the main factor and not austerity, charity, pilgrimage, fasting, etc. If you perform hundreds of austerity, vows, pilgrimage, fasting, etc., even then nothing can be equivalent to belongingness with God. Belongingness with God is greater than the chanting meditation as well. Chanting of God's name, contemplation of God, meditation of God, trance in God, greater than all of these. I belong to God. God belongs to me. The more firmly you trust this, the better your job will become. God is Almighty. He can grant everything. He can do anything. So He is mine. He will help me. He will protect me. This desire sentiment must not be there. God is mine. That's it. Don't demand anything from Him, even if He graces by His appearance or not. That's His wish. Where is God? How is He? What does He do? What He doesn't do? These things are not that much required than belongingness. If He nourishes, if He nourishes by His appearance, He is mine. If He doesn't grace by His appearance, He is mine. If He provides joy, He is mine. If He provides grief, He is mine. If He puts me through any situation, even then God is mine. The situation is not mine. God is mine. Remember this one truth. Fix this in your mind. Live every moment belonging to God. There are interruptions in chanting meditation, but there are no interruptions in belongingness. For instance, upon rising the sun doesn't have to illuminate, the illumination happens by itself. Similarly, upon becoming God's one doesn't have to work for the betterment happens itself by God's grace. I belong to God, as this sentiment grows firm, likewise, remarkability will come within you and an exceptional joy will be there. The distance from God, the difference from God, and the distinction from God will dissolve. By not accepting God as ours, various and many new troubles will arise, and by accepting God as ours, all troubles will resolve. The entirety of the embodied souls are fragments of God. Ishwar Ansh Jiv Avinashi. Therefore, this belief must be there within each one of us that we are God's beloved son, daughter. If you will accept yourself as God's fragment, then even without saying, listening, good quality and virtuousness, righteousness will themselves come within you. Such qualities will appear within you. You only will get surprised, but this will happen by accepting your relationship with God. We belong to God. This is the essence of all truths. You may be a householder or renounced. If you accept God as yours, then you will become preeminent. Mirabai accepted God as hers. मेरे तो गिरधर गोपाल दूसरों ना कोई. Mirabai neither gave birth to any son nor made any disciple. Still, even saints utter her name with the most respect. When this one objective will dwell that I belong to God and I will proceed towards God, then Yamaraja will be scared of you, mighty flowers will be scared of you. Flowers will dissolve by themselves only, no one will be able to conquer you, God will protect you until you have one objective decided. Till then, all flaws will plunder you, trouble you. When a human takes refuge in a king, then thieves, murderers start to become scared of him. You take refuge in God, and all flaws will be scared of you. You will obtain the strength to conquer lust, anger, etc. Whatever relation with God seems appropriate to you, accept that and become carefree. You formulate a relationship with God. This is an eminent strategy to develop love. Until you formulate a relationship with God, till then love will not arise. Accept God as yours and everything will become alright. Righteous thoughts will emerge themselves and those thoughts will be followed as well. Your body is a son of your mother and father, but yourself is a son of God. We belong to God if you accept this truth that your satsang is successful. Like a rich man's son had pride within him, a king's son had pride within him. Similarly, you should be proud that I am God's son. An easy and simple fact, God is mine. If God is called mine in such a way, then it impacts the Lord immensely. A strength for countless births and after serving and suffering in 84 lakh bodily forms, if the embodied soul utters, O Lord, I am yours, O dear Lord, you are mine, then it satisfies God immensely. God will utterly pleased as if God has found something that belonged to him but was lost from him. Those who tread on the might of their sadhana, they are mere laborers. A mother never waits the activities of her child. That if he has worked this much, then I'll feed him this much. I love him this much. Waiting of activities is for a servant. That whatever work he has done, he will be paid accordingly. People often require riches, estates, splendor, etc., but God doesn't require anything. Thus, those who take refuge in their liability and worship, perform sadhana, wonder and contemplate, they all toil and labor. Therefore, instead of depending on the might of your toiling, you must depend on the strength of belongingness to God. A wife is chaste from the self, not by consciousness. She doesn't become chaste by purifying her inner consciousness or antkarna. Does marriage happen after the purification of the inner consciousness? This is an acceptance of the self. Acceptance has no connection with the pureness and impureness of the inner consciousness. Acceptance is of the self, not of the consciousness. If the self accepts God as his own, then what role will inner consciousness play? Will you accept God as yours after purification of the inner consciousness? I belong to the world, there is a great downfall in this. I belong to God, there is a great uprise in this. By having belongingness with God, you don't have to purposely leave the bodily practice, but it is left naturally. I am the body. If you accept so, then all flaws will come. But I belong to God. God is mine. If you accept so, then none of the flaws will come near you. If a striver or saka performs all worldly obligation by believing himself as God, then his worldly activities become alright, and so will the activities for God. But if he performs all worldly obligation by believing himself as belonging to the world, then his worldly activities will not be alright, and activities for God will not even happen. God is ours, but not for our use. Instead, we are for his use. It means that we should not take anything from the Lord. Instead, we have to give ourselves to him And even in the most difficult of circumstances, we have to consider it as a blessing sent by the Lord and remain delighted. Listening, contemplation, profound meditation, restriction of the eyes, nor ears are not required. The fact is extremely simple. Girdhar Gopal is mine and nobody else. Nobody does except God. If it doesn't suit you, even then, accept it. This fact is true. Do not consider this to be difficult. The embodied soul is a fragment of God. There is nothing as great as this fact. I express to you with folded hands that you must give importance to the fact that I belong to God. You must strengthen this determination. Nothing similar to this exists, has never existed, will not exist, and is impossible to exist. The best truth that has come under my opinion to attain salvation is we belong to God. We belong to God. If you accept so, then I consider this as the best form of diksha or alms. If you give me alms for a lifetime, even it is not that much beneficial than accepting this single fact that I belong to God. We are not going to stay here. We have come here and we have to live like we stay in our traveler's inn. Similarly, we should consider ourselves here even when this body is not ours. Then who else is ours except for God? Nobody is ours, only God is ours. This is the first truth, this is the last truth, and this is the ultimate truth. After many years, this has suited me to consider God as ours. God is ours and nobody else is ours. This truth is from my heart. Except for this, I don't know much. We belong to God, God is ours. This is the true mantra. If you accept this, then your life will change in a few days. If someone asks who you are, then this must come within you first. I am God's. I belong to God. This is like a treasure hidden within your house. Because of not being known to it, you are suffering like a poor. Oh dear Lord, I am yours. If you accept this, then it is your insurance at God's place. Then keep on remembering God at all times. Do chanting of God's name. This is paying. This is paying installments to that insurance. In the entirety of the eternal cosmos, nothing equivalent to even a strand of hair is ours, but in whose single fragment the entirety of the cosmos exists, that God is ours. To eliminate all troubles and sufferings of the humans, there is a hunger, desire within the Lord that He calls me as His with a sincere heart. Just say, oh dear Lord, I am yours. Then God becomes happy. If anyone considers somebody as his, then he doesn't consider God as his completely, even if he keeps on saying that God is mine. If you have to remember God on purpose, then understand that your belongingness to God has not happened. For utilization, only objects are ours. For ourselves, only God is ours. Thus, make use of objects for the world and make use of yourself for God. Accept that I belong to God. If I belong to the world is accepted, then let go of worldly activities. Even with God's worship, you will forget God. If a married woman remembers her mother's house, that doesn't make her unmarried again. Similarly, when we belong to God, not if we may remember the word, that remembrance doesn't make us belong to the word. Worship is not constant, but the relationship is constant. So I belong to God. You must change your ego in this way. Nay, by connecting your relationship with God and becoming the same caste as Him, the realization will be attained quickly. If you desire your salvation, then only keep attachment with God. Any other attachment is not helpful in attaining salvation. Even Sant Mahatmas develop your relationship with God by considering objects and people as your pride will poison you, but everything is God and God is mine. By accepting this, you will not be poisoned by pride, as God has come in between. Nothing belongs to me and God is mine. If these two facts are accepted, then it will save your God. You will attain spiritual success very quickly. This path, when compared to others, provides strong vibration. When a child calls Ma Ma, his aim, focus, and trust are not on the word Ma, but instead on his relationship with his mother. The word Ma doesn't have power, but the mother's relationship has. Similarly, the power that exists in God's relationship is not there in His name. The Jiva or the embodied soul is a fragment of God. You have heard this, but I belong to God. Do you believe in this? Upon marriage, as the child is not born immediately but is born sometimes later, similarly, you become gods and all that you want will happen after some time. Realization will happen naturally. Accept this from your heart that we belong to God, we are pure, we are not at all sinners. We belong to God just by accepting this in the end, eternal purity will come. Even if you are the worst of sinners, even then God cannot deny that He is not mine. When you become gods, then all your doings become for God. You are gods, your house is God's, your kin is God's, objects are God's. If you accept this, then your satsang is successful. Accept everything as God's. What path easier than this should I tell? If a mother has 10 sons, it doesn't mean the mother has to divide in 10 parts. The mother belongs to all 10 sons completely. Similarly, God is everyone's completely. Accept yourself as God, and no guru is required thereafter. I belong to God and God is mine. If you just accept this, then your satsang is a success and your work will also be done. Only God is mine. There is no oblation, no austerity, no pilgrimage, no knowledge, and no other fact greater than this one. Accepting the word as ours and not accepting God as ours is a tremendous tragedy. Tremendous tragedy. Tremendous tragedy. If the mind is mine, the intellect is mine, and the body is mine, then how will God be reached? Nothing in this world is mine. This is knowing the word completely. Nothing in this world is mine. Know this and God is mine. Accept this, your work will be done. Even if you don't understand this, accept that God is mine. Even if you accept it falsely, it will become the truth because in reality He is all. If you have faith and trust in God and God is mine, you have this sentiment within you, then even if you are not literate, you will become extremely intelligent. If you accept that God is mine, then all your shortcomings would be fulfilled. Once your relationship with God is established, all your ill behavior will go. You will become a good son. You belong to God in the first place. All behaviors were acquired later on. Good or bad, however I am, I belong to God, then everything else will become alright. Your behavior, your feelings, your lifestyle, everything will improve. We belong to God. God is ours. This is the real mantra. If you accept this, your life will change within a few days. The more we accept the word as ours, the distant our belongingness with God becomes. Except for love, nothing has the strength to attract God. A crucial factor in attaining that love is belongingness. Belongingness attracts God. A child belongingness only attracts the mother. Therefore, belongingness is a crucial factor in visualizing God. Whenever a human says, "Oh Lord, I am yours, you are mine," God is extremely pleased upon hearing this. This is an insider secret. मेरे तो गिरधर गोपाल दूसरों ना कोई. That's it. This is the whole point. There is nothing complicated. Mirabai has shown the path to everyone. I belong to God and God is mine. There is no capability, no eligibility, no right, etc. equivalent to this belongingness. This is the essence of all the paths. If anyone, anytime asks you, where are you from? Who are you? When it should naturally come within your mind that I belong to God, this does not have to be told in front of everyone, but within your mind this should arise that I belong to God. God is ours, accept Him, nobody is ours. If you accept this, you will become liberated, enlightened, and a Mahatma. Except for God, even if the Guru is accepted and asked, then there is a foundation and benefit has not occurred. We belong to God, God is ours. You must accept this fact with clenched teeth, squinted eyes, and a stiff chest. Even gross, stula, subtle, sukshma, and causal karna bodies are not ours, then what else can be ours in this mortal world? 20th century literature. John Masefield, 1878 onwards. Masefield, the present poet laureate, is a rough kind of scout or saga singer who would have been at home in a vikingship, but who for 40 years has found poetry in the seamy side of civilization. His subjects are mostly folk of the unfortunate or underprivileged class, for whom he sings because he says to simple people, poetry is a gift of the gods which fills out and makes radiant this life of ours, which is but repeating in English what Betty said in Latin of the songs of Cadman. 13 centuries ago, one first and last impression of Mansfield is that he is at heart a poet, a singer, but lacks the supreme gift or whatever it may be that enables a poet to give adequate expression to his deep feeling. As a boy in Herefordshire, near the Welsh border, Mansfield would run away from home to join in the songs, dances and folk plays of villagers whom the world had forgotten. The same gypsy strain took him to sea where he spent some tough years as a foremast hand and learned to be a sailor man the hard way. Next he was an odd job man in New York and a little later a hack writer in London. A volume of Chaucer, which chance put into his hands, was the turning point of his life. With the reading of it came a resolve to dedicate himself to poetry, and from that day to this, Chaucer has been his revered master. When the First World War broke out, he played a man part either at the front or in charge of a hospital ship or as the eloquent voice of England. Propaganda in America, still later an official historian of the world, he wrote Gallipoli, a superb told the story of that heroic but unsuccessful attempt to capture the Dardanelles. To read it is to make even his admirers think that he might have won a greater reputation as a prose writer. His first books of was The Everlasting Mercy, The Widow in the By Street, and Dauber, the last named telling of an artist who went to sea in order to learn how to paint it and who was done to death by a heartless crew, were scornfully dismissed by critics as an attempt to put brutality into words. There were good grounds for the stricture, but Mansfield stoutly defended his work, saying, in effect, that poetry should be a reflection of common life and written in the common tongue, even when that tongue is foul or brutal. The first part of the saying may be true, the rest is a denial not only of poetry itself, but of Mansfield's own verse, which with the years grew steadily in refinement without losing its force or clarity. Those who read poetry for its own sake might well leave these early works to end, and the little of value will be missed by forgetting to return to them. But to read, to get acquainted with Mansfield, read in his collected poems 1932. Three lyrics wherein three lyrics wherein he unconsciously tells us of himself and his subject. The seekers reveal his philosophy or attitude toward the world by portraying humanity on its way to a city of God. There beauty dwells and radiant people meet, but never getting to the end of the reed, never getting end, never getting to the end of the road. A consecration outlined his season subject, not the great ones of earth, but such humble men and women as he has met on sea or land. A biography looks back and recall what he has most valued in life and what golden moments he keeps among his cherished memory. If a single selection is to be made from his 29 books of verse, read a letter from Pontus and other verse 1936. The Harry's letter is what Browning would have called a dramatic monologue, spoken by Horace, a poet exiled from his beloved Rome. Though the subject is thus Roman and classical, every line is such as could be written only by a modern Englishman who speaks the tongue of the common people. Other of the poems are likewise far from being beautiful or melodious if compared with the work of Keats or Shelley. But they are English to the core and so reflect Westfield's outstanding quality, his intensely English spirit. Next in order are a few selections from Saltwater Ballads 1902, the first poem since Anglo-Saxon days to be written by a sailor, though they hardly prove that Mansfield said it has not been done, the sea not yet been done from the inside by one who really knows. Notable among his selected poems 1922 are Beauty, Her Heart, and Being Her Friend. A few gypsy songs such as the Taxbury Road and the Vagabond and especially Cargos, which in three short stanzas symbolizes as many civilizations. August 1914, written in commemoration of England's entrance into the First World War, is typical of the best poems produced by the conflict and is really beautiful in its reflection, not of waving flags or marching men, but of white English fields that in times present as in times past are as lovely as remembered faces to men who leave them to answer the call of country. Among his long narrative poems, Right Royal is the tale of a horse race king called takes us afoot with a traveling circus, and Midsummer Nights retells some of the old Arthurian legends, longest and even to the author's admirer, hardest to read, hardest to read is Reynard the Fox, which attempts to repeat what Chaucer did in his Canterbury Tales, that is, portray a cross-section of contemporary English life. Chaucer selected for his masterpiece the most picturesque feature of his own age, a pilgrimage, and was content to individualize 9 and 20 in a company. Mansfield selected a very picturesque feature of our later day, a fox hunt, but failed to limit his company. In the first part of the narrative, he tries to individualize a score of huntsmen, rides as many horses and hounds, a motley crowd of country folk who are attracted to a meet as children to a circus parade. In the second part, he tells a great deal of Vulpine history, much of it at variance with natural history. In the third part, he portrays a very long chase from the viewpoint of the hunted animal, and by this time, the reader's interest flags or goes to sleep. One explanation may be that Mansfield tries to put too many characters or events into the forefront of his picture without making any artistic selection of his materials. The inevitable result, as with most overlong narratives in verse, is an impression not of a finished and readable poem, but of a few lines of good poetry scattered like wildflowers over a barren landscape. Alfred Noyes, 1880 onwards. Anglers and poets must be born so, said Isaac Walton, but the poetry of Noyes, like the fly which the angler uses as bait, is mostly of the made man, made kind. Evidently, he had no natural talent for singing, such as we find in the work of Burns or of Whittier, and no inhibiting idea that poetry is a gift that only the gods can bestow. To him, poetry was a tonic, not hard to compound, to which people respond as naturally as to sunshine or fresh air. That is why, as a student at Oxford, he studied poetry in order to learn the secret of its appeal to men of all lands and times. Deliberately, then, he not only chose poetry as a profession but proved by making a good living, but it can be a paying profession, so he became more than any other writer representative of an age which is supposed to be incurably toxic, industrial, mechanical, but which responds as readily as any other to the charm of singing words. On the practical side, for he looks and acts more like a businessman than a poet, he uses verse not to reflect the social trend of his age, but as an influence to set the trend in the forward motion. As he said to quote his idea rather than his precise words, the basis of all poetry is a sense of rhythm, and because it is an unchangeable part of human nature, as strong in the civilized man as in the savage. Whoever gives rhythmic expression to the thought and emotion of a people will unite them as no statesman or philosopher can in a common fellowship of understanding. In other words, there is nothing like a song to make men forget their differences and remember their common humanity. Such was the idea of Houseman when lately he said that the function of poetry is to transfuse emotion, and such the idea that John Skinner put into rollicking was 3 centuries ago. Come, I sang, Montgomery cried. But to read one of Noy's early poems, the very organ is typical of all his best work in that it tells by implication what a harmonizing influence rhythm can be in a discordant world. Because his theme is not some wandering minstrel in the form of an organ grinder, but minstrelly itself. He lifts a tune above the clatter of London streets to show its effect on all who hear it. The same effect that one sees in the brightened faces and dancing feet of children when a hurdy-gurdy sends a melody like a breath of springtime into a crowded tenement district. Here or there, the rhythm changes as if to reflect the sad or happy feeling of different hearer, and the repeated line come down to Q in the dark time has the haunting suggestion of a melody that rises not from the barrel organ but from the heart of the audience like a memory of happy days. The final impression after reflection is of a vanished age when someone on the village green raised a song in which others joined, an age when poetry and folk song were the same thing and the only expression of a community spirit. A good companion piece is Newspaper Boy, which is the ballad not of any particular newsboy but of the response of a crowd to his street cries. Among other short poems, A Tramp Transfigured reflects the author's purpose to make his work a unifying influence in common society, in human society. The wagon has a mystic undertone that is present in all ancient poetry. The highwayman is one of his best narratives and has the virtue of brevity. The song tree found like a grain of wheat in the chaff of Lord of the Misrule should be printed at the end of Noy's 28 volumes as a reflection of what poetry had meant to him and what he would have meant to others. These with other readable lyrics in the 4 volumes of his collected poems 1910 to 27 were mostly written when Noyes was ranked among the younger poets. Then he came to America, took the lecture platform, became professor of poetry at Princeton, and lost the greater part of his audience because his verse had lost its singing quality. Among his long-labored works, Sherwood, perhaps the best of the lot, is a dramatized version of Robin Pleasant's A Forest of Wild Theme, A Forest of Wild Thyme, reintroduces us to Mish Buffett, Little Boy Blue, the sparrow that killed Cock Robin, and other half-forgotten characters of nursery days. Tales of the Mermaid Tavern tries to interest us in the imaginary conversations of Lily, Shakespeare, and other famous Elizabethans. Black is the story of that sea dog told in the blank verse with occasional lyrics to relieve the monotony and preceded by a tediously long preface. An exordium, a first book which only delayed the start, the most ambitious work ever attempted by a modern poet, in the Torchbearer, a three-book narrative which attempts to tell of science and scientists through the ages, only to prove that the subject is not for poetry. There was a time when Southey wrote long romances in rhythm because verse narrative was then the literary fashion, and a later time when readers thought Tennyson enough harder a good novel, but any poet who would hold a present-day audience should deeply impress on his mind the legend that visitors saw graved on the door of Cotton Mather's study vision, a houseman, 1859 to 1936. Houseman is one of the most individualistic of contemporary poets, being in this respect comparable only with Conrad the novelist. From his verse we will learn, from his verse we learn first that he regarded humanity as an inconsequential part of the mighty life of nature, with its rhythmic flow of life and death, like the tides that endlessly come and go. And second, that as a stoic kind of philosopher, he must endure his lot bravely, without complaint, as a hopeless atom of helpless mankind. They say my verse is sad, no wonder. Its narrow measure spans years of eternity and sorrow not mine but man's. From his friend and a few published letters we learn that Houseman was a professor of Latin. A shy man, reserved in manner, solitary of habit, whose scholarly work was to edit old manuscripts that could be read by nobody except perhaps another Latin professor. For recreation, he would walk alone in the fields, thinking of nothing in particular until, as he said, there would flow into my mind with sudden and unaccountable emotion a line or two of verse, accompanied by a vague notion of a poem of which they would be a part. Over these lines, which elder poets might have regarded as a gift from heaven, he labored from time to time, not any time, but only when, as he said, the spring bubbled up again. One of two results followed: either he threw the lines away or he revised them again and again, cutting out every superfluous word, reducing his poem to the unadorned simplicity of a diamond or a violet. He was a fastidious craftsman, severely critical of his own work, which he collected into tiny volumes. His Shropshire Land, 1896, and the last poem, 1923. After his death, his brother Lawrence, a dramatist and novelist, published more poems, 1936, containing work that Houseman had as a kid. With this introduction, open a Shropshire lad to read and remember whatever appeals to your own taste. The poems are all of the local kind, reflecting a corner of rural England where the poet spent his boyhood, hence the aura of nostalgia that envelops them as of longing for something that is gone forever. Each poem is finished work of literary art and a few, such as one when look as into my heart and the lyric beginning when I was 1 and 20 are rightly called classic because they show the power of simple words to stir a responsive emotion, which is the magic of all enduring verse, though the poems deal with youth exclusively. They reflect nothing of joy, faith, or high endeavor, or any other of the interest with which that period is forever associated. It is not a youth who speaks to us in the perfect lights, but a man who evidently had no natural youth and can only regret the loss. In the second volume, his mood deepens into a settled resignation, as of one who must live on aimlessly thinking that life is hardly worth the living. Cavalier poets, as you may remember, cultivated a melancholy mood when their word loyalty was falling to pieces, but because their melancholy was brightened by hope, their best lyrics were gay rather than somber. Houseman would see nothing to hope for in this later day of democracy. Even its triumph over tyranny in the First World War passed unnoticed. Looking into the glass, he mistook his own face for that of mankind, and what some critics have called his realism is, from another viewpoint, a romantic denial of human nature and human society. George Bernard Shaw, 1856 onwards, I write today with a deliberate purpose to convert the nation to my opinion, said Shaw. Another medicine man who would use the stage as well as use the novel to reform society. The essential difference between their chosen tools is that the novel is a story designed to be read by an individual in solitude, and the drama is a social spectacle designed to be acted in a crowded theater. Hence detachable, hence the debatable question, is the drama a form of literature? Assuming for the moment that the right answer is affirmative. Another question follows: was Shah a dramatist or a showman? In view of clashing opinions, the only valid answer at present is that he fathered a new type called the play of ideas, and that for some 30 odd years he was the most talked about personage in the dramatic world. That he wrote much drivel, which he taught, which he thought was excellent drama, is generally admitted. But he also wrote several plays that others thought excellent, and these are the most debatable of all because his characters are only puppets to voice his ideas, and because he so often is a good dramatic scene by his irre- ir- irrepressible boastering, and clowning. Our first purpose here is to understand, if possible, a playwright whose work is sometimes puzzling and at times repellent, by quoting his own estimate of himself and by